much for joining me for what has been one of my most requested videos recently, and it's a review on the products I've tried from M Cosmetics. In case you're not familiar, this brand launched fairly recently, and it is by Michelle Phan, who is, of course, a popular YouTuber who has kind of gone the route of creating her own makeup line. I believe this is under the umbrella of L'Oreal. I would say, judging by the price points of these products, it's definitely a high-end makeup line. I have products for eyes, lips, and face, as well as a large palette, and the price range of all those things go from about $16.50 to $75. So in this video, I'll be reviewing all the products I have, including the Life palette. That's a big one that I've had questions about lately. I'm gonna have swatches, demos, of course my review. This is not a first impressions video. I wanted to make sure I gave you a really thorough, educated review after trying these products for several weeks. So since it has been a few weeks since these products have been out, a lot of great questions have been coming my way. A couple of the main things people wanted me to touch on in this video were the cost of the products and whether or not I feel that they are worth that price, and also just lots of questions about that big Life palette, so I will definitely show you that as well. I would just like to say congrats to Michelle for coming so far. I mean, starting on YouTube and accomplishing so many things, creating a makeup line, and just having the courage to put yourself out there. Obviously, it's one thing to put yourself out there on YouTube, but then to create a product and really put it out for the world to see and try, I think that takes a lot of guts. So props to you, Michelle, for doing this, and I was sent these products for review from the company. However, as always, that does not affect my reviews. This is going to be the normal, unbiased, honest review you've come to expect from me. So the first thing that I kind of worked into my routine today is the contouring and highlighting stick, and this has a really unique name. I hope I say it right, Chairoscuro, and I have it in the shade medium. So basically what you have here is kind of like a double-ended lipstick. Basically, you've got your highlight on one end and your contouring stick on the other. Very compact product, really, you know, travel-friendly size-wise there. To apply it, I basically just drew it on my face. You know, I took the contouring stick first and I drew that kind of right in the hollows of my cheeks. I also went down the sides of my nose with that. I went a little bit around the forehead as well. And then I blended it out with my e.l.f. small stipple brush. I love the light amount of pressure that applies so it doesn't mess up the foundation you've got underneath. Then I just went around with the highlight in the areas I would normally put it, kind of on the cheekbones, down the nose, brow bones, that sort of thing. And this highlight's interesting. Maybe it's because this is in the shade medium, but this isn't like your typical shimmery champagne highlight. This is a very, I guess, warm, sunny sort of highlight. It's got a little depth to it, but it's still glowy and shimmery, and I still think it works as a highlight for me. And it does look quite natural. I don't think it comes across as being overly metallic, and something I may not have mentioned about the contouring side is that that is matte, that it does not have any shimmer in it at all. When I was first trying this a few weeks ago, the first thing I noticed about it was the texture of this. This is definitely not just a cream product, but it goes on your skin with sort of a cream to powder texture, which I think is really perfect for something that you're going to be putting that's a cream when you're going on top of a foundation. I love how it blends out in kind of a silky way. It doesn't maintain any sort of dewiness on top of the skin. I personally don't really like it when cream products do that. The cost on this is $25, and I gotta say, I would buy this. It's a 2-in-1 product. It's a really unique formula from a lot of the cream sticks and things like that I've tried. It blends well. It gives me the effect that I want from a contour, so I give this a thumbs up. Next product is the Makeup Mood Enhancer. It says Illuminating Skin Filter. So this is a product that comes with a little pump here, and the shade that I have it in is Golden Candlelight. This is also a $25 product. This is the type of thing you could mix in with your foundation or your moisturizer if you want it to have more of a glowy appearance, or you can just apply it on top. It has a nice amount of shimmer. I mean, it's not something that looks completely opaque and metallic. You know, it's got a sheerness to it, and the shimmer is very, very fine, and I think very wearable. The way I like to use it is I pump out a little bit on my hand, and again, I grab my small stipple brush, which is just a godsend for any sort of cream or liquid type blush or highlight or contour. Get a little bit on that brush and apply it on my cheeks. I've got to say, I feel like it goes on kind of subtle. Like when I'm here, say in front of my makeup mirror, I feel like, oh, that doesn't seem like there's that much on there. But then you go out and you see yourself in the sunlight, and it really shows up and catches the natural light a lot more. If you're familiar with benefits Benefit's High Beam and Sunbeam. This seems kind of like a cross between those two shades, this golden candlelight color. Even though this gives a really pretty glow, I don't personally see this as a must-have for me. I feel like there are a lot of other things on the market that are similar to this. Even from brands like e.l.f., they have something called the Shimmering Facial Whip, which reminds me a lot of this type of a product where it's that liquid shimmer. You can blend it in with other things. Not a bad concept. I just don't find it to be all that unique or worth the $25 for me. I also have a lipstick, and from what I've seen browsing the site, there are several different like formulations that she has. This one that I have is the Creamy Color Classic Lipstick. The shade here is Misty Mauve. And I did apply this for my look today. I have a little gloss on top of it now, but something I noticed when I put it on, it goes on very smooth and really does give you nice full color in pretty much one sweep around your lips. It might smell just slightly sweet. I don't notice anything objectionable about that. Just judging the formula, it has pretty good staying power. I mean, it can get me through an entire morning without feeling the need to touch up, and I don't feel like it's overly drying. So a good combination there. I think to even drugstore brands that I've tried, like the Milani Color Statement lipsticks or the Revlon Super Lustrous, those are some fabulous formulas as well that go on with full color in one step and seem to have the very comparable feel and staying power. So it's a nice product. It's not probably something I would splurge on. Okay, next up we're going to talk about the much anticipated Life palette, and these come in several different forms. The one I have here is the Career Life palette. So you're going to notice when we get into some up close shots that there's a lot of neutral, everyday type of colors in here. If you take a look at the palette, I think you can kind of see that there are 4 different total looks basically in here, and with the palette you get kind of a guide on how to use those. So the 4 different looks are Power Suit, Girl in Charge, Out to Lunch, and Natural Talent. So if you're confused on how to use any of the shades, it gives you just a little face chart on each one of those. Also, I just want to point out this palette comes with a couple of tools. It comes with a small eyeshadow brush and an angled brush on the other end. You'll see this used in the demo that I did. And also a little tool here where you're actually able to poke out or kind of pick up the shadows out of this palette, and I don't have it. It didn't come with what was sent to me, but I believe this is sold with just a small blank palette that would hold the amount of one of these quadrants. So does that make sense? You can pick out then any of these shades, put together your own configuration, and take it on the go. It's like you're kind of depotting them. They're all magnetized in here. They're all named, and all the names are on the back of all the products. So in each of these sections, you've got a blush, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 eyeshadows and 2 lip colors. It seems like in each of the segments, one of the lip colors is more of like just a lipstick in a pan, and the other is more of a glossy formula. The part of the kit that I'm wearing today are these purples. I actually used the pink blush. I used this kind of lilac shade all over my lid, put on a little bit of the deeper purple shade on the outer part of my lid and into the crease, and then took the dark plum for just a little added contrast there in the crease as well and under the eye. And I used this pearly shade as my highlight and used it to highlight my inner corner also. So this palette, the little tools that came in here, and a little blank palette that basically holds a quarter of this palette, that's all $75. Sometimes when I'm formulating reviews on something, it helps me to put together like a little pros and cons list. So that's what I've done for this video, and I just thought I'd share that with you, just my observations as I've used this. As far as the pros or the positive points about this palette, I think it is cool that there's multiple looks. You know, you're definitely getting 4 fairly distinct different looks in this palette. Also, I like that there's a combination of matte and shimmer in all of the segments. Some shades are more frosty, some are just entirely, you know, typical matte shades, so that's nice. And me being the makeup obsessed person I am, I also like the idea of the custom compact. No, I don't have that here to show you today, but I like the thought that I can go in with this little pick, I can pop out the different shades that I want, I can make my own, you know, little to-go palette basically. I think that's pretty cool. In terms of my favorite part of this palette, I do really like this segment down here that I said contains some really nice matte shades. There's a nice kind of rosy undertone with everything that's going on. I think that's a really nice chunk of this palette. As far as the cons for this palette, just construction-wise, whenever you've got a big palette and you're combining not just eyeshadows, but cheek products and lip products, there's the issue of the fallout from those products getting into one another. And I will say that these shadows don't have a great deal of fallout, but nonetheless, you've got, you know, some very dark shadows right next to your blush, and I have had, you know, little bitty particles in there that I've just had to kind of like blow on the palette basically and get those particles off so I don't have some sort of black streak going into my blush, you know what I mean? So that's kind of the tricky thing. While there's a ton packed into this palette, you've got everything very close together. And also, of course, with lip products, any bit of powder particles, which I've already noticed, you know, have gotten into a couple of these lip colors. Another con that I noticed with this is sort of the hit and miss pigmentation of some of these shadows. I think I came into this with very high hopes. Swatching this with other palettes on the brain like, you know, Urban Decay and The Balm, and I'm thinking of how soft and kind of creamy and velvety, smooth and super pigmented those shadows are. And then I swatched these and I was a little let down by the amount of payoff they really had. I noticed across the board quite a bit of sheerness with a lot of the colors. They do seem to perform better on top of a primer on the eyes than they do just dry, which is the case for a lot of different eyeshadows. Some shadows were giving me what I wanted, others not so much, and I had to kind of go back and even as I was applying them on my eyes, layer on a little more product to build up to the intensity that I wanted. I don't think it really competes pigmentation-wise, intensity-wise with brands like The Balm, Urban Decay, Lorac, some of those high-end brands that really have buttery, smooth, velvety, rich eyeshadows. Bottom line is that I think it's an interesting concept. I like the thought, I like the theory behind having one big palette and then building your own smaller palette that you can take with you using these shades. After really trying these products on my eyes, lips, and cheeks, really wearing all these various looks, not just swatching them, I just don't feel like I would spend 75 bucks on it because outside of the concept, I don't think the quality of the individual products are just that unique and amazing. I really do like the lip colors that were chosen in here, by the way, but again, it's kind of a shame that they're in there amongst the powder products and then you're getting powder on the lip products and you heard that whole spiel. A couple of other things to mention. One is the Waterliner Intense Color Eyeliner. I have this in Black Night. So I've used this quite a bit. I've used it on my upper lash line. I've used it in the waterline, which you are advised that you can put it in your waterline and it's supposed to have really good staying power. And I've got to say, it truly does. There are liners that go on more silky smooth than this, but I've said this before about eyeliners. Sometimes the ones that are just a touch drier, somehow they cling better to that waterline. I mean, it glides on easily enough. It lasts me through pretty much an entire day with just a little wear down in the outer corner. That's normally where things in my waterline start to go south, is just on the outside. But for the most part, it really lasts well there on the waterline, and it doesn't seem to lose any intensity of the blackness, you know, on my upper lash line either. So I really don't have any complaints about this. I also felt zero sensitivity with my eye. You know how sometimes you put something on your waterline, it's almost like a, I don't know if it's a fume or some maybe fragrance in the product, but it can kind of, you feel like something's there. This really seems like nothing is there. If you've tried a ton of different eyeliners, particularly for the waterline, and just haven't found something that worked really well, this might be worth a shot. The final product is the color Facets, and it's a sparkling shadow top coat, and the shade is Celestial Sparkle. So this is like a loose pigment. It's got a different packaging trick in here that's unlike anything I've seen. It's kind of like a netting almost going across the top, allowing just a small amount of the product out. You know how some pigments you will swatch and there's almost a creaminess to it, like the product really hangs together, almost like it is being binded together somewhat. This is very loose and dusty and like airy and sheer. So I just dabbed a little bit, like just a tiny bit on top of my eye look. I feel like there are powder shadows that give you that little bit of shimmer and sparkle that you could put on, and they would be pressed and they would maybe be with within another palette you wouldn't need to grab for this. I don't know, I feel like the thought of a shadow top coat is kind of a bit of a gimmicky idea, and I think, you know, you could just put a sparkly shadow there and you would have what you needed. So not really a must-have product for me. Okay, so that's everything I've tried from M Cosmetics. My top 2 products are probably this stick, the Highlight Contour Stick. I really like that. I think it's a unique formula. It went on very, very easily, blended in like nothing. I mean, it was really, really great. And I was pretty pleased with this eyeliner as well. Something that can stay in the waterline. Sometimes that's pretty hard to find. And this was a nice black. Really didn't lose much intensity over the course of an entire day, which is pretty impressive. Things that for me were just kind of like, I don't really think I'm gonna use this type of thing very much, is the Makeup Mood Enhancer, that shimmery liquid, and also the Color Facets Sparkling Top Coat. Those were just things where I think if you've got a good highlighter or you've got a good sparkly shadow you like, you know, you may not really need something like that. The lipstick was nice quality, but again, there are many nice quality lipsticks out there for lower price points. And again, you heard my whole talk on the Life palette, but I mean, good concept, good theory, just not quite the execution I expect. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.